This message has no affiliation with the Department of War. Good evening, everyone. Stay with us today as we take down DEI, why the E in DEI is terrible, and answer one of your questions. This is the Martin Memo. The Martin Memo. All right, welcome in, everybody. Before we begin and talk about the nitty-gritty of things, I wanted to share today that I went to my first public speaking class through my college. It was a great time. I ended up muddying the waters a little bit, if you will. So what ended up happening is we were supposed to give like these little 2 to 4 minute speeches. Well, I decided that I wanted to go over the Second Amendment. So following that, my teacher actually said, hey, we will not be doing any politics moving forward or religion. You're not allowed to talk about it. This climate is not, it's a little too spicy for all of that. So yeah, I ended up basically getting politics canceled. She was already going to talk about it, but you know, it's my fault. But anyways, after that, she came up to me and she said, you know, I loved how your speech went. It was very fiery, very articulate. And I was really considering just letting you talk about the politics, but she wanted it to be fair for the entire class, and a lot of people cannot handle tough, sensitive topics. So it ended up being just a one-and-done thing. So moving on, my next class, when I do get the chance to speak, I'll be talking about the 3 branches of the government. I am excited for that, and potentially maybe I'll try to get a little video and sneak it in here so you all can listen to what I say. I should try to see if I can get the other video as well. That'd be a little fun tidbit. But anyways, let's just go ahead and dive into it, and that is the monster disasters DEI. So without further ado, first off, let's define our terms because the left loves to muddy the waters. Equality means everyone gets the same shot. Equal rules, equal opportunities, no favorites. But equity, the E in DEI, that's the leftist twist. Adjusting rules to force equal outcomes, no matter the cost. As conservative commentator Ben Shapiro puts it, equity turns everything into a zero-sum game where someone has to lose for others to win. In a clip from his appearance on The Breakfast Club, Shapiro nailed it. Only one person gets the job, so equity means discriminating to hit quotas. It's forced redistribution. But why is equity so terrible? Let's break it down. Equity assumes disparities are always due to oppression, not individual choices or merit. It demands we lower standards for some groups while we penalize others. Often whites and Asians who outperform on neutral metrics take education. Equity policies push for proportional representation in gifted programs, which means capping high achievers from overrepresented groups. So you may ask yourself, what is the results? And the answer is just mediocre. Now let's dive into the data. A Harvard Business Review study from 2016 reviewed decades of diversity programs and found they often backfire. Positive effects from training last maybe a day or two, but many activate bias or spark backlash. Employees feel accused and resentful. In fact, a 2023 systematic review of DEI trainings in healthcare showed mixed results at best, with only 80% reporting any significant outcomes, and even these were short-lived. Now here's worse. A Forbes article from earlier this year highlighted how DEI has disproportionately helped elite professionals while ignoring working-class folks. It is a scam for the laptop class, and public opinion is shifting against it. According to a Pew Research poll from November 2024, views of DEI have grown negative, especially among men. 29% now say it's a bad thing, up from 23% in 2023. So why? Because people see through the facade. A Greater Good magazine piece from March 2025 admitted 50 years of DEI has yielded many more failures than results. Even a Medium analysis called most DEI programs outright failures, with training that does not stick. But equity isn't just ineffective, it's harmful. It breeds division by pitting groups against each other. And in medicine, Shapiro warns DEI could kill you. by prioritizing diversity over competence in hiring surgeons. And it doesn't just stop at surgeons, it is across the board. I know most of you had probably seen that article with Charlie Kirk saying how he doesn't trust the black pilots, or at least that's how they perceived it. That was not the case. He just did not trust how the system handled those types of things. You should not be put into a position to meet a quota. You should be put into a position because you met all the prerequisites and you are a quality hire. You should not get it because of your race or anything like that. I think that is trash. It would be the same as if the NBA decided that, you know what, currently the NBA has about 75% African American players. Okay, well, we want to even the scales a little bit. So we want it 50% black, 50% white. Obviously, there's more races, but just for the sake of this example, the play in the NBA would go down. It really would. I do not care what people say. The play in the NBA would go down. It's the same as out there in the real world with surgeons or with pilots, whatever it may be. You should have the best quality people in the best positions. It does not matter about if you are black, white, atheist, Jewish, Christian. It does not matter. We should have the best people in place serving us. So now that brings us to the core. DEI is an anti-white weapon. Don't take my word. Look at the evidence. Equity demands correcting for historical imbalances, which in practice means discriminating against whites today. Trump called it out during his campaign, labeling DEI as promoting anti-white racism that unravels civil rights progress, and he is absolutely right on that. Conservative activist Charlie Kirk has echoed this, slamming DEI as a tool to undermine white achievement in areas like guns, gender, or more. So now let's go over some more real-life examples on this front. In corporate America, DEI quotas have led to reverse discrimination lawsuits. A 2025 Stanford study on DEI controversies found companies barely increased diverse hiring post-scandal. A tiny bump showing it's all talk, but still punitive. The Atlantic warned in February 2025 that anti-DEI pushes aim to reverse the civil rights movement, but that's the leftist spin. The real resegregation is DEI's racial preference. Al Jazeera called DEI attacks code for don't ever integrate, but let's flip it. DEI is code for don't hire whites. Stats back this up. In higher education, equity policies have slashed white enrollments in elite schools. In the post-affirmative action ban, some universities saw white admissions drop as they doubled down on DEI workarounds. A Guardian piece from April 2024 admitted conservatives weaponized DEI as a dog whistle, but that is projection. The real weapon is DEI itself, hurling accusations to silence whites. NPR in February 2025 noted mounting attacks have made DEI politically toxic, with companies scaling back. And good riddance, it's about time, as it limits career opportunities and reinforces discrimination. A Society of Women Engineers report from the same month predicted DEI rollbacks would slow women's progress, but it ignored how equity hurts white men in STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. Moving on, so why is equality better? It's very simple. It rewards merit, not skin color. Equality of opportunity levels the playing field without rigging outcomes. As a Quora user put it years ago, equality creates a level playing field with no advantage or disadvantage, while equity demands justice through favoritism, which breeds resentment. A George Washington University resource explains equality gives the same resources, equity adjusts for circumstances. But that adjustment often means reverse racism, as we are finding out today. Liberals admit equity evaluates circumstances to force equal positions, but as we all know, that is socialism in disguise. Vox in 2023 quoted activists saying, equity gives what they deserve, but who decides? Bureaucrats with agendas. That's who ends up deciding all these things. Equality means treating people the same. Equity is supposed to mean fairness, but fairness is subjective, leading to what we see today, which is abuse. Equality built America. Anyone can rise through hard work. But equity, it tears that down. Liberals claim that scaling back DEI risks talent loss. But that's fear-mongering. The real risk is DEI's alienation. To sum it up, DEI is a danger that silences and divides. We need equality to unite us, not equity. Moving on, let's dig into the rotten foundation of DEI, and that is critical race theory, also known as CRT. CRT isn't just some academic theory, it's the ideological poison that birthed modern DEI madness. Conservatives like Christopher Rufo have exposed how CRT teaches that racism is baked into every American institution, and the only fix is to dismantle them through equity mandates. It is a false political religion. As one critique puts it, where whiteness is tainted by original sins like slavery and colonialism, justifying endless reparations and discrimination against whites today. President Trump called it out earlier, banning CRT trainings in federal agencies because it divides Americans by race. Critics argue that CRT pushes for equal outcomes over merit, which we all know is not the case. In schools, it's led to bans in states like Florida because parents don't want kids taught that they're oppressors or oppressed based on skin color, which is gaslighting at its finest. Speaking of leftist gaslighting, let's address this new YouTube video called Why the Right is So Obsessed with DEI, hosted by Garrison Hayes with pro-DEI guests like Raven Rodriguez and Tim Murphy. They claim conservatives use DEI as a racial boogeyman to stoke resentment and undermine black success, calling anti-DEI rhetoric strategic racism. They dismiss blames on DEI for issues like Boeing incidents or NIH grants as baseless lies, insisting DEI is essential for equity and health. Folks, this is classic deflection. Let's debunk it point by point. First, they say conservatives blame DEI for Boeing's door plug blowout without evidence, calling it deregulation instead. Wrong. Critics rightly point out Boeing's DEI push prioritizing diversity in hiring has led to inadequate training and oversight, contributing to safety lapse. The NTSB found Boeing failed in training, guidance, and oversight. And DEI's focus on quotas over competence is part of the culture shift. Elon Musk and others have highlighted how DEI distracts from real fixes, but the evidence shows lowered standards in pursuit of diversity goals. It's not racism, it is about safety. DEI's zero-sum game means skimping on merit. Next, the video debunks a Wall Street Journal op-ed titled "The NIH Sacrifices Scientific Rigor for DEI," claiming it's misleading because grants went to qualified underrepresented scholars. Absolute nonsense. The Wall Street Journal exposes how NIH's first program pushes ideological commitments in DEI hiring, evaluating scientists on contributions to diversity over pure merit, injecting DEI into funding decisions, politicizes science, as critiques from DOE, NASA, and the NSF show. Cornell's hires may be qualified, but prioritizing DEI statements sacrifices creativity for ideology. That's the real sacrifice of rigor. They tout programs like San Francisco's Abundant Birth Project, which for those of you who do not know what that is, it gives cash to Black and Pacific Islander mothers to reduce preterm births because, of course, they blame racism on higher Black maternal mortality. But conservatives argue disparities stem from factors like lifestyle, access, and personal choices, not systemic racism alone. Race-based handouts violate equal protection. They're ignoring all these other mothers who are in need. DEI here creates anti-white discrimination by design. The video ties DEI attacks to CRT as buzzwords for racism. But as we've covered, CRT is the problem. It underpins DEI's obsession with race, leading to these diverse policies. Overall, this video is propaganda ignoring how DEI increases prejudice and alienates whites and other races. It is not obsession. It is defense against anti-merit, anti-white agendas. I rest my case there. With that being said, that brings us to our next segment, and that is the cold monologue. For those of you who do not know what the cold monologue is, the cold monologue, you ask us questions online. My executive producer writes it down and puts it in this hat over here, and then I read it right off the rip. There is no prior knowledge to what's on these questions. I take one of the questions, I pull it out, and I read it. You're getting my authentic live reaction. So with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. There's multiple questions in here. I'm not cheating. Do this one. What do you think Republicans can do to be more educated and ready for debate? Great question, like always. I think the biggest thing that you can do as a Republican getting ready for debate is, first of all, be knowledgeable. Read. I cannot stress this enough. Read. Get a good book. I have many here. If you need any, let me know. I'm willing to share. But understand what exactly you're talking about. And also listen to debates. As much as you can read or listen to like a podcast, you need to fully understand what you're walking into. So I would highly encourage you to listen and watch videos, kind of understand and develop your skills. Have friendly little debates about, my executive producer always says pancakes and waffles, you know. Well, pancakes are nice and smooth. Well, waffles, you can store the syrup within it. Different things like that to strengthen and kind of develop your own skills, whether you're debating against yourself or you have like a close friend or a sibling, just to do small debate topics like that and then eventually work your way up. You would be surprised on how you can be the most knowledgeable about a subject, but then you go head-to-head against someone or against a panel, whatever it may be, and you completely brain dump. We had seen this against the Biden-Trump debate this last time, right? Anyways, moving on. The biggest thing that I can say, be educated, be ready for debates, and get out there and execute. You can do it. There is not a doubt in my mind that anyone listening here, you cannot go debate, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or Independent. You can debate, and you can debate anyone. Be confident within yourself. If you're not going to believe in yourself, who will? You need to believe in yourself. You need to get after it, and you need to study the material. Everyone wants to spin it, so make sure you spin your own narrative and put it to trial 10 different ways over, just so you can have a better understanding and a better strength, because people will try to hurt you from all sides, if you will. So, with that being said, be knowledgeable, study, and be ready for a debate. That is how you can be the best version of yourself when it comes to debating. So now we are pleased to announce that we have another show that we are creating that is in the works. I know. Please save your applause to the end. But essentially what is going to happen is we have our Friday show, which is what you are seeing now, and then we have our Tuesday show where I do an interview directly with someone. We're going to keep this show the same on Friday, and then we are going to shift that Tuesday to Wednesday, and then on Monday we're going to have another show. We do not know the name yet. We have a good idea, but we are going to debut that here coming up. We're just finalizing some of the details, but you are getting more Martin Memo content. Super, super excited. Cannot wait for this to take off the ground. We will explain more as we have more details coming in. So with that being said, well, folks, that's all we have in store for today. Join us on Tuesday as I interview a surprise guest. Share your thoughts on X, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Martin Memo, and subscribe on YouTube. Now, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. This is The Martin Memo. The Martin Memo.